I'm Claudia Ruiz, and you are watching International Eyes on KTV. We are once again here at the annual International Festival celebrated in Raleigh, this time at the Stair Fairgrounds, where you can enjoy of all different treasures from all different cultures. This is Claudia Ruiz. Stay focused. Hi, we're here with Patty. Hi, Patty. Hi. We're here at the Chinese food booth, and we have a traditional dish right here, and Patty can tell us what it is made of.
Okay, this is a traditional pork egg roll. It has pork, a bit of noodles, some vegetables, and it's fried on the outside to make it brown.
And how much is it enjoyed by the Chinese people and all the community? Is it a very traditional dish?
It's very traditional. Almost at all Chinese restaurants that you find here, you will find egg rolls as one of the most popular dishes.
So friends, now you know what to ask when you go to a Chinese restaurant. Ask for egg rolls, if that is the first dish, if you haven't tried. Patty, thank you.
You're welcome.
You are here on KTV. Now here we are at the Swedish food booth, and we have Anita, and we have our friend
Benta.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for welcoming us. We see that you have delicious food and very traditional dishes. Would you like to talk to us, to internationalize about your dishes?
Okay. These are Swedish pancakes, which are very thinly made, and it's delicious with jam. It's lingonberries with whipped cream. This is gravlax, which is marinated lax, which is salmon, and it's marinated for 4 days in the refrigerator. This is meatballs, Swedish meatballs from IKEA, close to Washington, D.C. These are imported from Chicago, Swedish herring, marinated herring.
Well,
That's what we serve. Everything is good.
everything looks delicious. Which one is the most traditional serve? Is the one that people ask more?
I would say the Swedish pancakes.
The Swedish
That's what I
pancakes?
pick. Yes.
A sweet dish.
Swedish pancakes.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Would you like to add something? Would you like to add something?
Well, it's just all very good and tasty. And the meatballs is also a very traditional dish. And of course the herring you eat for, you probably heard of the Swedish smorgasbord, like a buffet, and we'll have a lot of different kinds of herring.
Okay, thank you very much, Anita and Patty. Thank you. Stay focused, please. Continue with us. Now we're going to feature some Kenyan food. We're here, and we have some good friends to show us the most traditional dish. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, could you tell us what is the name of this dish?
This is a typical Kenyan dish called kienyeji. And, well, it's just made of potatoes, maize, and greens. And then it's cooked together to make this. It's really delicious.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you. Now, friends, we know another dish that we can ask for when we want to try some Kenyan food.
Great. I could give you pleasure, and we look forward to see you and the crew at our place at Neomont Bakery in Delhi.
Thank you very much. And we are now here at the Pakistani food, and we're gonna see several dishes that are very, they look very nice and very delicious. We have Mr. Dabin.
Nadim.
Good afternoon, and his wife.
Deba.
Mr. Nadim, could you tell us what is the most traditional dish from the ones that you have in here showing?
Well, we are selling a lot of platter, and platter consists of a pakora, which is made of gram flour and spinach, and then we are having samosa, which is very popular, and we have rice and chana, the chickpeas, and then we have chicken tikka.
And do we have last one that you mentioned, the chicken tikka? Do we have it in one of those ones? Which one is it?
This is the chicken tikka. Me and my wife actually made it in a restaurant.
And we have samples if you want to try.
Oh, thank you. We're gonna try some samples. Let's see how delicious they are. I'll try it.
And this
For
is the samosa, which is also part of the platter, but you can also sell it separately. And this is
Right there on the table is good.
This is the platter.
Well, so thank you so much. I see you have all your friends here working.
Friend over here. Yeah.
Hello, thank you. Okay, thank you for being with us.
Thanks very much.
And And now this time we are here with the crafts and we're going to see Pakistani crafts, and we have this lady, Nashta. She's gonna be with us.
Hey,
Hello, how are you?
yeah, pretty good.
Well, she's gonna explain us what this crafts made of and what is somehow the tradition behind these ones.
Yeah, this is all, most of the things are handmade, and I pick these cultural things because these dresses are still using in lots of the parts of our Pakistan. So these are like colorful dresses and handmade. The women made them themselves in the homes. And we are showing hospitality, how our guests can come our whole houses and we entertain them. The major thing how we entertain them is food. So our food is really colorful, and like these things I put in here are made of like clay and plaster of Paris. To show them.
We can take one if you would like, if it is possible, the ones that are made of clay, to show it to the camera.
Sure.
Sure. Which one would you like to show?
Okay.
This one?
Yeah.
Made of clay?
Yeah. These are the sweets. I made them from clay, and these are sweets made of flour and sugar and lots of other things. And all the colors are different, but and the tastes are different too with each other. Yeah. And the silver paper is a very thin silver leaf, so you can eat it too.
And they smell sweet. They smell good, so probably they taste the same. Oh, that's interesting. The dress you're wearing is one of the traditional dresses that we have in Pakistan. Would you like to show it to the camera to model a little bit?
My dress is kind of traditional because it has lots of embroidery on it, and my shawl has block printing on it. Block printing is so common, and like it's a traditional work in Pakistan. So we use big block prints and like different colors on it. So
Sorry for the people across in front.
that's okay. And
Thank you very much. Is there something else you would like to add before we leave?
this is the piece behind it. It's a quilt, and quilt kind of work, and it's a patchwork. It's finished in like 5 or 6 months, and women do it most of the time.
Well, a lot of work, 5 or 6 months building it little by little. Okay. So,
I want to introduce my husband too because he works a lot with me in this store. You. Okay.
thank you very much for staying with us. Thank you for all the information. We have beautiful crafts, and we're going to take a closer look to those ones. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
You have
cute.
to be making all the things.
And here we are again in another Pakistani booth with very interesting things to see. Right now we're going to see some henna tattoos. Henna is a natural component that is used to do skin tattoos. And here we have our friend that is going to explain that to us.
Yeah, it's made from leaves of tree. You make a powder from that leaf, and that powder is used for applying in hair as a conditioner and color. It doesn't have any chemical. Not only that, you apply it as a tattoo. It stays for a week, and it's beautiful. Brides use it for their wedding as a decoration of their hands. It can also be put on nails instead of nail polish.
It's very nice, and it will last for a week, so it's not permanent, so you can remove it. By the week ends, will be removed.
And if you want to remove it early, you can rub lemon and it goes away.
Thank you very much. Now we're seeing the henna tattoos being done. Here we have the lady who does them very carefully. Look at them carefully, please. Now we are seeing some Pakistani jewelry. We have some bracelets, we have some necklaces and some rings, and we have a long variety of Pakistani jewelry. We have different kinds of shoes. We have sandals, we have cover shoes, we have some clothes, and we have some tablecloths as well, and some dresses. Hi, hello.
Hi.
Are you enjoying this international festival?
Yes, I am.
Have you seen things that you hadn't seen before?
Yeah, there's a bunch of great foods and
What is the thing that you have enjoyed the most today?
getting the tattoo.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's true. We just saw some tattoos before getting done. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yourself here at the International Festival?
Yeah, I really enjoy International Festival and all the cultures about their stuff, everything, and then their food, I really enjoy. And I'm from Nepal.
Oh, good. Have you learned something from another culture that you had some interest in before?
Yeah, I learned a lot of things, like arts, they have arts, and then the clothes, their food, they have a lot of things I learned. A lot of things are similar with my country too, Only the way is a little bit different. I really enjoy that.
Thank you very much. Keep enjoying the day.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, how are you today?
Fine, you?
I'm fine, thanks. Are you enjoying yourself here at the International Festival?
Yes, I am.
What is the thing that you have enjoyed the most, you and your little son down here?
The booths, the different things that the people have at their booths, and the food.
Especially the food.
Yeah.
Have you tried a dish that you remember the name and where it is from?
I had some donuts from the Dutch booth, and they were good. And I had a custard from the Irish booth.
Oh, great. Sweets, okay. Women will love sweets. So, well, I hope you continue enjoying yourself here at the International Festival. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Are you enjoying yourself today at the International Festival?
Oh yes, it's a lovely time here.
Very much so.
It's great.
It's nice to see families in here like you. What is one culture that has been attractive for you? Which one has been the most attractive for you today?
They're all wonderful. I can't decide which one I like best, but
Oh, that's a great answer. But yes, there's a lot of things to see right here. Well, thank you very much. We hope keep enjoying this day here at the International Festival. Thank you.
thank you.
Hi, hello. How are you?
Good.
Oh, we saw your performance earlier. It was beautiful. We would like to know what is your experience being here participating in this international festival in Raleigh?
Oh, I'm enjoy the everything in this festival because we have like a nice show, nice food, and exhibition, and I enjoy performing in this event very much.
Really? Well, for us it's even better because we come to enjoy performance like yours, the Tahi dance. It was beautiful, and your dress is so beautiful. Would you like just to model it a little bit for our cameras? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Are you enjoying yourself today at the International Festival?
Yes, I'm having a great time. It's a good chance to see all the different cultures in one place. So,
what about you, gentlemen?
Oh, I'm really enjoying it. Especially the food is really good to see all these different people. And in North Carolina, so many different people from different countries. It's really wonderful. I was just going to go and watch the dance. So it's really good.
Completely, I agree with you. We need some time to enjoy all the variety that we have. So far, how long have you been here right now enjoying of the International Festival?
I've just been here today.
Just
today since after church, but he's been working in the Iranian booth all day, so representing that culture.
So you have a very wide sight of everything going around here.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I guess I would expect to see something like this in California, but not in North Carolina. To see so many people from different places and different cultures and everything is wonderful.
That's a treasure that we have, so we hope we can continue enjoying this every year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Salam Bidwan, and this is a special feature of International Eyes. Today I would like to talk about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and America's perception of what's going on, and just talk about the history, the conflict, what can happen from here, and basically give us all a little bit of knowledge as Americans that we can make a well-informed opinion of what's happening. So first let me introduce my guests today. I have Rajai Kubain, who is the president of the North Carolina Triangle Chapter of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, as well as chair of the Palestinian Right of Return Coalition North Carolina Committee, also known as Al-Auda, and Rania Masri, who is the co-chair of the Media Committee of Al-Auda, which is, again, the Palestinian Right of Return Coalition, as well as the national board member of Peace Action. Rajai, I'll let you both tell us a little bit about yourselves and let us know what you're doing in the community.
All right. My name is Rajai Kubain. I'm a Palestinian. I immigrated to the United States in 1975, where I received my undergraduate and graduate education in Northern Virginia. I moved to North Carolina about 10 years ago, and I've worked for several years now with the Arab community, trying to really promote their rights and their perspectives for as difficult of a time that the Arab community gets with the stereotyping and the misinformation and really the bad image that they get in the media. It's very difficult for the community to survive here in the United States, and it's a message that really needs to go out to Americans, and we have worked hard to try to bring it forth.
Well, my name is Rania Masri. I moved to North Carolina in '86 and have been living here for 14.5 years now. I'm a peace activist first, and a human rights activist, definitely. Most of my time I spend working on two issues, the first being the right of return for all Palestinian refugees to their homeland, which is Palestine, and the second being ending the 10-year-long war on the 22 million people of Iraq.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us today. First, let's talk about some common impressions that we Americans have of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I know one is that Israel, I've always heard, you know that Israel is a big democracy and the only true democracy in the Middle East, and that's why it's important for us as Americans to support them and support their democracy. and that's why the U.S. is such a strong ally of Israel. Some other things.
I think the American public always sees Palestinians and Arabs on TV somehow labeled and genetic flawed to be terrorist people that want to kill, people that want to incite violence, and that somehow we have to be careful of terrorism, try to control it, suppress it, and support the powers, the true democratic powers of Israel, the civil society somehow that is right, and us as Americans need to provide support for them. I think that's often what Americans see on the media, and maybe here today we'll have an opportunity to show another side of it.
Yeah, let me just add one thing. The definition of democracy in all the books is that all citizens of that nation must have equal and legitimate rights under law. Using that code, Israel is not a democracy. Israel is an apartheid state. Because as a Jew, you would have rights under law. As a non-Jew in Israel, you would have secondary or even tertiary rights under law. Therefore, it cannot be a democracy because all the citizens of the country are not treated equally, do not have equal rights in any way whatsoever. It is a democracy only for the Jews of that country. But all the other citizens of that country, it is not a democracy.
I think often you see maybe this is a religious conflict, that somehow it's the terrorist Muslims doing their jihad, which is somehow associated with terrorism and with killing people, and somehow we need to be careful to protect the security of the attacked Israel or other countries, or Americans, that is, as you see in examples on the news, to be protected from these fanatical Muslims. And this is far from the truth, and I hope today we'll have an opportunity to dispel some of this.
Yes, and that's our intention, to dispel some of the myths and reveal the facts so that you can make your own informed decision about what's happening. Let's start by taking the opportunity to explore some of the history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Why don't we start well, with Zionism? I know Zionism is a word, one of those phrases that you hear a lot. Why don't we talk about what that is, its origins, and how it has affected the goings-on in the Middle East?
Sure, that's true, Salam. This all really started by something called Zionism. Zionism is a movement that arose in Europe in the late 1800s, and it was a concept for the creation of a Jewish state, a country that's based on a religion. And as you can see, and as my colleague here pointed out earlier, is that this is discrimination at its basis to define a country where its citizens are valued by the religion. This movement was looking around the world for a plot of land, for an area where a Jewish country was to be created. Two of the areas that were looked at more seriously were Argentina and were Palestine. The Jews do have some roots in Palestine that date back to the 2,000 years to Christ and some of the history in that area. As part of this decision, as part of this movement, there were organizations created in Europe that tried to influence the immigration of thousands of Jews to the land of Palestine. In 1880, at the time, Palestine was a land that was under the administration, part of the Ottoman Empire. At the time, there were only 24,000 Jews in the area. There were 800,000 Palestinians. The Jews were approximately 3% of the population. And from then through the years, again and again, Jews would be enticed to migrate to Palestine, to attempt the purchase of the land. And the Ottoman Empire would persist again and again to stop this, to facilitate the migration of Jews, but not in mass numbers and not for the purpose of the creation of a state. For this was a country of its people, and most of the people of that country were really Palestinians.
But for years, from 1880 on, for years, while there were 3% and growing of Jews in Palestine, they lived in peace for many years. Is that right?
They sure did. My mother tells me many of these stories. She said, we lived by side, and we got along well. And there were problems. As the amount of immigration grew, as the dominance of the Jews was coming in, the Palestinians could see and knew from their papers, from their books, from their organizations, that their objective was really to create a Jewish state where the Palestinians would have no place. And they started rising up, but they didn't have the opportunity. And as you see, as we come along to World War I, things would start changing. And I can speak a minute about that. There would be World War I, and that's about 1913. At the end of World War I, essentially the Ottoman Empire was ousted from the land of Palestine, and the Palestinians would be under what's called a British mandate. Meanwhile, and even before, during the Ottoman Empire, the Jews in Europe had a strong political influence on the European governments, and would influence through that relationship pressure on the Ottoman Empire to facilitate the migration of Jews into Palestine. And this would continue in a more significant way once the British occupied Palestine. And we have in 1917 where Lord Balfour would sign a declaration facilitating for the creation of Israel and providing for even much larger mass immigration of Jews. And during this occupation of Palestinians, any uprising through the Palestinians through a movement would be oppressed and would be snuffed out, while the Jews would be allowed to build a militia, bring in military, train and exercise, and be in a position to actually attack when they did. And you see this leading up to 1947. Leading up to 1947, World War II, there would be skirmishes between the Jewish militia and Britain, and Britain would have a very difficult time with this and would come to the United Nations and say, the United Nations was just newly born, and would come to the United Nations and would say, United Nations, please resolve this, because we have a difficult time controlling this and knowing what the solution is. And maybe Rania can share with us a little bit of what happened then.
Well, what the United Nations did, and at that time it was called the League of Nations, was they basically divided Palestine. Now, let's put this in perspective. We had a lot of migration from outside the area. So a lot of people, primarily from European descent, were coming into Palestine. They were coming in armed. There were already a lot of violence that was being committed. And then we had the United Nations, people again in Europe, deciding that the land of Palestine must be divided. So basically, if you were a Palestinian, what happened was your house is now cut in half. Basically, that is that. We had the land of Palestine that was cut up, 55.6% to be exact, was given to the Jews. Naturally, the Palestinians rejected this since, number one, the Jews were the minority in population, they were the minority in landowners, and nobody would accept the idea of half their land being taken away. There are two myths that are commonly said about Israel that unfortunately are believed. Number one is that this is a people with no nation for a nation with no people. We have heard that a lot of times, and this is completely false. According to the Israelis themselves, and I'm quoting an Israeli leader when he says here, there is no Zionism, colonization, or Jewish state without the eviction of the Arabs and the expropriation of their lands. In other words, every Israeli city that you see, every Jewish city that you see in Israel is built upon the remnants of Palestinian cities and Palestinian villages. Every single one without exception. So the first myth is completely false. The second myth that we hear a lot about is that Israel had to defend itself against aggressors in 1947 and 1948. We hear that all the time. They are a victimized nation surrounded by enemies. 2 points here. Number one, The massacres that were committed against Palestinians, the immense ethnic cleansing that took place, when we had 800,000 Palestinians evicted from their homes in 1947 and 1948, 70% of them evicted at gunpoint. All this took place before any Arab country tried to protect the Palestinians. All this took place before the State of Israel was officially declared. We had the mass ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians. Still till now, Israel is presented as a victim, although Israel is the strongest military state in the entire Middle East. Israel is the only country with nuclear weapons in the Middle East. And so we still have this propagation of this is a victimized people and a victimized state. History says completely otherwise.
Yeah, just to fill in a few facts with what Rania was just speaking about. When the State of Israel was created, the United Nations would give it 56% of the land. The concept was to create this country, but to facilitate and allow for its citizens to stay in the towns and their villages and to live as they have always had. But unfortunately, the Jewish organizations that would create the state would have a different concept. They wanted a state that was for Jews, that was simply about religion and a people of the religion, and therefore would go through and would ethnically cleanse, as my colleague here says, Palestine. They did this in multiple ways. They went in and they took over some towns and they had massacres. We have the town of Deir Yassin, where they tied up people, paraded them around the town and then massacred them. We have the town of Tantura, where they took all the men, they had them dig a large ditch, and then they shot most of them and had the rest of them bury them, the few left. There's a story about a son actually burying his father alive, and then they would go back and they would tell the rest of the town, and the stories would spread, and that would really scare Palestinians. Many of them would flee, knowing that this terrorism and this slaughtering was coming to them. In many, many more towns, a larger percentage, the Israeli militia would occupy the town, and then they would put them in trucks and they would take them to the border, or actually in even more cases, they would gather them, they would talk to the leadership, and they would say, that direction, start moving. And there's stories of people dying as they are traveling, trying to get to another town, as you would know of the trails of tears. And people were just left to die. And that's really what the creation of Israel is about. 800,000 Palestinians would be refugeed. 100,000 of them would be allowed to remain in Israel, but 40,000 of them, 40% of them, would actually be expelled and out of their homes. People lost their homes, people lost all their possessions. There's the story of my grandparents and my mother, where in the town of Beisan, they would occupy the town, they would put them on the truck, and they would lose everything. My grandfather, within a year, would die from being despair and being destitute in their situation. So this is really what happened, and this is how we come about of Palestinian refugees and these Palestinian camps, refugee camps that you hear about continuously. There are 5 million Palestinians today as refugees, and as we go on with some of this history, we'll find out how even more of them were refugees in the future.
Well, imagine this, okay? We as American taxpayers, while we have our social welfare is being cut in this country, while we have our education loans are being cut, while we have 1 in 6 American children do not have health insurance and go hungry every night as they go to sleep, 1 in 6, while we have all these problems taking place in our own country here in the United States, we have our administration spending more money per capita on Israelis than it is spending on Americans. Now, as an American, I find that completely outrageous. As an Arab American, I find it even more outrageous that our administration, instead of fulfilling its vows to support democracy, to support freedom, to support human rights, as it always claims to be, is instead supporting a state that justifies sending Apache helicopters, tanks, sharpshooters, high-velocity ammunition, and numerous other very intensive military weaponry to kill children armed with stones. This is the state that our administration is supporting. We are supporting them with billions of dollars annually to pay for their military, to pay for their economy, which, by the way, Israel is among the top 10 countries in the world that spies on us as Americans. They spy on us. This is not quite an ally here. We are funding the illegal settlement. We are funding the illegal land confiscations. We are funding the destruction and the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. Let me remind you, 70% of all Palestinians are refugees. 70% of all Palestinians cannot go home. 70% of all Palestinians are living a life in exile. This is a very difficult life to lead. The rest of the Palestinians are living a life under occupation.
Well, a lot of the things we've been talking about today, why haven't I seen this sort of thing on the news? When I flip on my television, I see a very different picture. I don't generally see so many of the Palestinian homes being demolished. I don't see Palestinian children being killed. I see a couple Israeli soldiers being killed. I hear about that a lot. Why is what we're talking about today seems so foreign to me as an American who watches the NBC nightly news and sees something completely different?
Well, ironically, you'll hear more about Israeli violations of Palestinian human rights in the Israeli press than you will hear about them in the American press, which is really unbelievable. And there are several reasons why you don't hear about them. Palestinians are Arabs, and you don't hear about the death of Arabs anywhere in the American press because Arabs are denigrated. We're regarded as Arabs, as numerous other things that I cannot voice on public television. We are regarded as less than human, basically. Our deaths are not regarded as newsworthy. So Palestinians have the misfortune to be Arabs. On top of that, we have the American press in general completely abides with whatever foreign policy the US administration has. It rarely questions it, whatever the foreign policy is, ranging from Colombia to Palestine across the board. So when we have the US administration stating and justifying the massive use of Israeli violence against Palestinians, which, by the way, Amnesty International has declared that the Israeli use of violence in September and October of 2000, just recently, their use of violence against Palestinians is regarded as a war crime by Amnesty International. When we have the US administration justifying this, we will not have the American press talking about we have that 51 Palestinian children under the age of 17 have been killed, that more than 160 Palestinians have been killed, that 4,500 Palestinians have been injured, most of them with fatal wounds, this occurring in a matter of 26 days. We don't hear about that. And what we need to have is our administration being true to its word. We need to have our administration being true to its conscience. And we need to have our media being true to journalistic integrity.
Well, we've covered now extensively, I think, or at least touched and given a good overview of some history and the present situation of what's going on. But now I'd really like to talk about the future. Where can we go from here? What are our options? Is there hope for peace? Is there hope for a Palestinian state? What are the solutions?
Well, I am a peace activist. I believe in peace, and I believe that there is hope in peace, or else I would not be devoting my life to this issue. There are three options for the future for Palestinians and Israelis because our future is tied. We are both tied to the same land. The first is that the US administration will continue to support the State of Israel, therefore leading more land confiscations, more segregations, therefore having in the future, the very soon future, a complete occupation of all Palestinian lands and basically a state of apartheid in the land of Palestine where Israelis are given rights and Palestinians are not, where we will have another South Africa in the Middle East. That's option number one, if we as Americans do not do anything to change the situation. Option number two is having a two-state solution in the land of Palestine. Basically would mean the Israelis would have to abide by international law, respect UN Security Council resolutions, and withdraw from all lands seized by war. Therefore, they have to withdraw from the West Bank and Gaza and Jerusalem as dictated by international law. You will have one Palestinian state right next to an Israeli state. And it has to be enforced that all Palestinian refugees have the right to return and have the right of compensation as dictated by international law. This is what the Jews who were evicted from Europe because of the Nazi reign are asking for, and this is what we are asking for. Now, the third option is a one-state solution, where we have all the land controlled under one government, all of it. You can call it Israel, you can call it Palestine, you can call it whatever you want. It's a one-state solution. But the catch here is that regardless how you choose to worship God, whether you are a Jew, a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, an atheist, however way You choose to worship God, and whatever your religious background, you will be given the same rights under law as anyone else in that country, which is what we as Americans believe very strongly in. We believe in the separation of religion from government, and that is what we are asking for the Israeli leaders to do, to separate religion from government, to treat all people equally. And furthermore, all Palestinian refugees must have the right to go home. There is nothing as fundamental as the right to go home, and that is what we are asking for. So those are the three options. We as Americans can either work for peace and work for either a true two-state solution or a one-state solution where all rights are respected, or we can do nothing and watch the further ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, the further breeding of violence, because there will be further violence completely in the future until we have justice. It is really in our hands because we are the ones who are supplying Israel with the majority of the money. We are the ones who are backing Israel the most in the world, and we are the superpower in the world. It is basically what we say goes. So let's say the right thing.
Thank you. I'd like to thank both of you for coming today. But before we close and end, what do we want to end with? A message, something to tie it all together, an image for us as Americans to have. What should we think about when we think about Palestine and Israel? Can you help us with that?
I want you, when you think of Palestinians, to think of a proud people, a dignified people who have been violated for 52 years, a people who are asking only for the right to live equally with all the rights afforded to them under international law, to live as human beings. That is basically all that we are asking for, and that is all that we want. If I could also, I want to read this one poem to you. It's a poem about what it means to be a refugee, written by a noted Palestinian poet. And I want to end with this poem because, like I said, 70% of all Palestinians are refugees. We cannot go home, 70% of us. This poem says, "Now I live in tent number 50 on the left, but it's too small for my future. Forget, they tell me, but how can I forget? The night when dreams stop showing me my village, when the wind stops bringing me the perfume of the fruit in my garden, when it stops raining from the sky, then I will be able to stop thinking about my country." That is what it means to be a refugee, to be kept away from your homeland, to be kept away from your roots, to be living without an identity, to be living in a country. We are scattered around the world. Most of the places we do not have the rights afforded to us. For the Palestinians who are living under occupation, basically 30% of the population living under occupation, they are living with no rights. At any moment, the Israeli military may step into their homes and take their children, put them into detention, may massacre them, as we've seen happening throughout September and October of this year, where we've had the Israeli military attack them with grenades, with tanks, with missiles, with sniper bullets, with high-velocity ammunition. What it means to live as a Palestinian means to live with no guarantee for tomorrow, to live every day as it may be your last, not knowing when you may be killed, not knowing when you may be expelled from your home.
Salam, as a Palestinian, one really is in despair and in disbelief, and really has a very difficult time believing in something called destiny or justice or equality, because here you are as an individual that is completely humiliated, your rights taken away from you, your relatives killed, and at the end of all of it, you are blamed for it. I, as a Palestinian trying to go back to my homeland, will be searched, will be interrogated, will be spied upon, will be humiliated. And this is a land that my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my ancestors for years have lived in that land. While I know simultaneously the Israeli government pursues Jews living in corners of this world, Russians are coming in to Israel, provided citizenship, and they are living in comfort and subsidies. I think this is of the utmost supreme immorality of the world, and I think it's time us as Americans step in and say no to it.
Well, thank you for joining us for this very special feature of International Eyes. Stay focused. Thank you.